Hi, I'm Agatha. I've always been a dreamy child and easily found inspiration in the world around me. Wow, look! I can make a new friend out of these. I still loved making toys even when I got older. The only difference was that now I sketched the new designs on my tablet. I would get so engrossed in drawing that the rest of the world would cease to exist. At moments like that, I would stop noticing anything else. For example, I could forget I was running a bath. As you see, I wasn't very attentive. One day, I was so busy staring at a bird's feathers glittering in the sun that I started to cross the road on red. Luckily, I had a personal bodyguard, Damon. He looked like a wild wolf, strong and fearless. His scowl struck terror into the hearts of everyone. Damon wasn't someone you wanted to mess with. He always protected me from any danger. Oh, Agatha's got her head in the clouds as usual. Watch out. What? Oh, dang it, you're right, thanks. Damon was like an older brother to me. We'd known each other since we were kids. His father was my dad's bodyguard. By the way, my dad was a wealthy businessman. He owned a large toy factory. It was no wonder I picked up toy making as a hobby. However, unlike me, Dad was a realist. He thought I was too weak to survive in our cruel world. That's why he hired Damon to look after me. Agatha, there are a lot of bad people who would try to take advantage of your naivety, given the chance. Despite his warnings, I wanted to explore the world and see what it had to offer. But Dad and Damon protected me like I was made of glass. Of course, it was great that Dad loved me so much, but it also had its downsides. For example, I had always had a lot of admirers, but Damon scared all of them away like an angry dog. Trust me, it's not you they want, but your father's money, Agatha. Okay, we got to the interesting part. Although, hold on, I think I forgot something. Oh, but of course. Please subscribe to the Private Diary channel and like this video. By the way, how old are you? Tell me in the comments down below. Now, on to my story. It all began when I was getting ready for my birthday party. That year, I was turning 18. I sent out invitations to all my friends and went down to the living room, looking forward to an awesome party. But there was no one downstairs except Dad and Damon. My bodyguard was sneakily throwing something into the trash. Has no one come? I told you those friends of yours are fake. You can always rely on me, though. It pissed me off that no one came to my party. I turned off my phone so I wouldn't have to read their pathetic excuses. Whatever, let's celebrate together. I blew out the candles and made a wish. What did I wish for? I won't tell you, or it won't come true. And then Dad and I danced to slow music. It was our tradition. But that year, Dad seemed kind of tense and tired. Dad, is something wrong? Everything's fine. I just need to work some more today. Happy birthday, sweetie. He kissed me on the forehead and went to his office. I couldn't help feeling a bit down. Damon tried to cheer me up and playfully smeared my nose with the cake cream. Cheer up! Let's have some fun. We went up to the roof and ate the cake there like we used to when we were kids. We looked at the starry sky and chatted for hours. I love summer nights like these. What about you? Me? I love you. What? I've been in love with you for years and I won't let anyone hurt you. I froze and didn't know what to say to that. Then I laughed and playfully shoved Damon in the shoulder. Oh, very funny. You are kidding, right? You're like an older brother to me. I honestly can't imagine ever falling for you. Damon smiled, but he looked a bit disappointed. Yes, you got me. It was just a joke. We sat there a bit longer and then I dozed off with my head on Damon's shoulder. He must have carried me to my room because I woke up in my bed. In the morning, Dad told me he was going on a business trip to Hawaii and wanted to bring me along. Of course, I was all for spending time with him. Aloha! Damon came with us. When we got on the plane, I noticed that Dad still seemed worried. He kept taking some pills and looked nervous. Dad, are you sure everything is okay? Of course, I'm just a little tired. Hawaii greeted us with bright sun and pleasant sea wind. I'd never been to such a beautiful place before. As we drove to the hotel, I stared around and soon saw a handsome blonde man. He was absolutely gorgeous, like someone had photoshopped him into the real world. I immediately started dreaming about him. After checking in, I wanted to go for a walk and get to know the locals, but Damon was against it. There's a gang of criminals operating on the island. He'll be safer with me. Oh, well, there was nothing I could say to that. So I sat in a lounge chair by the pool, turned on my phone, and immediately got a text from my friend. Agatha, I hoped you liked the flowers we sent you. That was weird. I called him back and asked him what he meant by that. He said that someone had called everyone I'd invited to my party and said it was canceled. So my friends just sent me some flowers. What? But I hadn't got anything. And then I remembered seeing Damon throw something into the trash that night. Had he really made sure no one would come to my party and got rid of all my gifts? It took a lot to make me mad, but that news made my blood boil. I went to Damon to get to the bottom of it. He was talking to my father when I found him. Damon, did you cancel my party? Why are you trying to isolate me? I need more friends than just you. To my surprise, Dad rebuked me. Honey, you can't blame him without fully understanding the situation. Oh, so you're on his side? This isn't fair. I ran away. Damon chased after me, but I hid behind some bushes and he ran past me. As I sat in my hiding spot, I decided that enough was enough, and I couldn't keep living in a dollhouse like Barbie any longer. It was time to go out into the real world. I carefully left the hotel grounds and went for a walk around the island. Soon I arrived at an observation deck. The view was to die for. I stared at the ocean and forgot all my problems. As I wasn't watching where I was going, I stumbled and almost fell down. But someone grabbed my arm and held me up. At first, I thought Damon had tracked me down, but when I turned around, I saw the beautiful guy I'd noticed when we just arrived. I felt myself blush. It had to be illegal to be so attractive. You should be more careful. I get lost in my own head a lot. It's so beautiful here. Hawaii is amazing. You're a tourist then? Let's go. I'll show you the best places around. I'm Bane, by the way. He nodded at his bike, but I hesitated. I'd always been told not to trust strangers, but Bane seemed nice. Could our meeting be fate? In the end, I got on Bane's bike and shyly held onto his waist. It was time to go on an adventure. What followed made my head spin. Damon appeared out of nowhere and started chasing us on his bike. Agatha, that guy is dangerous. I didn't want to talk to him, so I patted Bane on the shoulder and asked him to speed up. It was like we were in an action movie. Damon overtook us and blocked the road. Bane had to hit the brake. My bodyguard immediately ran up to us and dragged me off the bike. Bane had some wheel spin but got away. Damon crossed a line again. What are you doing? My job. That guy, remember when I said there was a gang of criminals operating on the island? He's their leader. I didn't believe him, but Damon showed me an APB on Bane. He probably found out your dad's a rich businessman and tried to kidnap you to get a ransom. It was like someone had poured a bucket of cold water over me. Was I really too trusting? It was terrifying to imagine what would have happened if Damon hadn't saved me. I hugged him and hid my face into his firm chest. Thank you for looking after me. It's like you're my guardian angel. He was breathing deeply, and I could hear his heart racing. I told you I wouldn't let anyone hurt you, and I'm sorry I ruined your party. I found out your friends were only gonna come to let loose for free and made fun of you behind your back. You deserve better than that. I forgave Damon. He was the only person I could trust. I was the only one that gloomy giant showed his softer side to. I suddenly remembered Damon's confession on the roof and realized he'd been serious. Did I like him back though? Damon was strong and ready to do anything for me. Besides, the way he saved me from the clutches of a villain was so romantic. We returned to the hotel. The next morning, Damon said he had prepared a helicopter tour for us. I need to tell you something important. He got into the car, but then someone called him. Damon asked me to wait for him and stepped outside. But then I noticed that a box had fallen out of his pocket and there was a ring inside it. Oh, for a few seconds, I couldn't understand what it all meant. I decided to just talk to Damon without jumping to conclusions. I got out of the car and caught up to him. But then I saw something that made me freeze. Damon and Dad handed money over to Bane and shook his hand. I was happy to help. What can be more romantic than saving a girl from a kidnapping? Dude, she's gonna fall head over heels in love with you now for sure. I hope my daughter will not throw a tantrum when I tell her I want her to marry her bodyguard. What? I started shaking with fury and ran up to them. Oops, think that's my cue. Bane took the money and left. I screamed at Damon as tears streamed down my face. Oh, I get it now. So that's why you drove all my admirers away and convinced me that you were the only one I could trust. You were the one who was interested in Dad's money all along. Dad, why are you on his side? You're the worst. I felt so terrible I couldn't stay there for even a second longer. I didn't even take my phone from the car before running away. I wandered around the island and talked to myself. They tried to fake my kidnapping, so I should disappear for real to teach him a lesson. Where can I hide though? It's a shame I didn't bring any money with me. At that moment I saw Bane. He was tinkering with his motorcycle. I came closer and smiled, although it probably looked more like a grimace. You're not a gang leader, are you? He was so stunned he even staggered. Oh, it's you. Of course not. I wouldn't hurt a fly. It was all an act. I needed the money. Great, you helped Dad and Damon, and now you will help me. Can I stay with you for a couple days? Doll face, I don't do charity. Come on, Bane, you already got the money. Would taking me in be such a hassle? He didn't budge. I just shed a tear to convince him. You see, Damon wants to marry me to take over Dad's business. I need to disappear for a while to teach them a lesson. Bane narrowed his eyes in disbelief. So, your daddy is rich and would do anything for you? Yes, but his love can be suffocating. I sometimes feel like a bird in a golden cage. Bane gave it some thought, but eventually agreed to help and brought me to his house. It was quite shabby and there was no one around. As you can see, this is not a huge mansion with a bunch of servants. You'll have to do everything yourself. Bane looked down on me just because I grew up in a well-off family. But I decided to prove that I could take care of myself and said I would make us pancakes. Go ahead if you're not afraid to get your hands dirty. He was so infuriating. I got down to business but soon got distracted staring at a cloud outside the window. It looked like a white fluffy Shrek. Oh, I was so lost in thought I burned the pancakes. That upset me, but to my surprise, Bane just laughed good-naturedly. I'm sure you have a lot of talents, but cooking is not one of them. Okay, come on, I'll buy you some street food. Besides, I still owe you a tour. We got on his bike and rode around town for a bit. For the first time in my life, I felt truly free. We ate poke, a Hawaiian specialty, and explored the island. Some street dancers even gave me a flower necklace. It was fun until Bane suddenly noticed someone in the crowd. Dang it, we need to go. What's wrong? I saw some bad guys I don't get along with. Let's go. Before I could take a look at those guys, he grabbed my hand and dragged me away. We got back on his bike and came back to his house. I really enjoyed that day and knew I would remember it for the rest of my life. In the evening, we watched a magical sunset, and I thanked Bane for showing me around. In response, he just smiled sadly. I wish my problems were like yours, Agatha. I've been on my own ever since I was a kid. I try to work, but I rarely earn much. That's why I agreed to organize your fake kidnapping. Damon paid me well for it. I don't even want to hear the name of that traitor. Thinking about Damon really hurt. I looked at Bane to get my mind off of it. In the warm summer twilight, his face seemed especially beautiful. Was I falling for my kidnapper? A new day came and my life was turned upside down again. I asked Bane if we could go surfing, but he shook his head gloomily. No, Agatha, those bad guys could track us down. You should stay here and lie low. Okay. However, Bane had no intention of sitting at home. He left me a note that said he had to go somewhere. Was it about the bad guys? Do you always ask so many questions? Just stay here, I'll be back soon. He left, and I heard him call someone and say he would be rich soon. I didn't take a genius to figure out something sketchy was going on. Bane was acting too suspicious. When I realized that he had locked me in the house, I decided that it was time to get out of there. I broke out the window and came back to the hotel. Dad was lying in bed and looked very sickly. He was on cloud 9 when he saw me, but he couldn't even find the strength to get out of bed. I came up to him and hugged him. Sweetie, how did you escape? What are you talking about? Dad handed me an unsigned note that said some criminals had me and would only give me back for a large reward. Naturally, whoever had written it also told Dad not to contact the police. Something clicked in my head and I realized Bane must have sent that note. He must have come up with his insidious plan as soon as he found out my dad was rich and would do anything for his daughter. Bane only let me stay with him to get a ransom. That bastard! I looked around and realized that something was missing, or rather, someone. And where is Damon? He left to rescue you. He tracked that gangster down and figured out where they were hiding you. Another puzzle piece fell into place. There were no bad guys. That evening, Bane had noticed Damon in the crowd, which is why he dragged me away so quickly. I wanted to slap the living daylights out of Bane, and then my heart sank. I was scared for Damon because he went to Bane's house. Who knew what that scumbag was capable of? My hands were shaking when I called Damon. He didn't answer. A shiver ran down my spine, but I managed to pull myself together. Damon saved me so many times. Now it's my turn to save him. Agatha, no, it's too dangerous. It's okay, Dad. I know what I'm doing. A few minutes later, I brought cops to Bane's house. He was fighting Damon when we arrived. Luckily, a tragedy was avoided. The cops managed to overpower the enraged Bane. You think you've won? I'll come back and get my revenge. Yeah, all criminals say that. Now get in the car. I hugged Damon, who looked a bit rumpled and couldn't hold back tears. I only realized how much you mean to me when I thought I could lose you forever. Oh, Agatha, I couldn't forgive myself if something happened to you. After that touching scene, we came back to the hotel and I learned something terrible. It turned out that my father had recently been diagnosed with a serious illness, who went to Hawaii to undergo a course of treatment. I'm sorry I didn't tell you the truth right away, Agatha. It's just that you're so sensitive. I was afraid that if I passed away, there would be no one to look after you. So I asked Damon to marry you. He was the only one I could trust with my daughter. There's nothing that matters to me more than you. Oh, Dad. But now we know you're not defenseless and can take care of yourself. Damon looked at the ring box in his hands and put it in his pocket. Even if you never love me, I will always be there for you. I gently traced my fingers down his face. You might need that ring later. After all, I realized you were more than just a friend or a bodyguard to me. Just give me some time. He smiled shyly, and then the three of us finally went on a helicopter tour. I was thrilled. The real world was very dangerous, but also beautiful. The trick to surviving it is to not be too trusting. Unfortunately, that was my last trip with my father. He passed away soon after that. Damon was there for me when I was grieving. I took over Dad's business. Now our factory makes toys based on my sketches. Everyone used to say my tendency to daydream was my weakness, but I managed to turn it into my strength and became a real boss. Are there any things you would never change about yourselves?